Hello, welcome to this channel. And then you are going to continue with topic 3. This is grade 8 Utah, and I'm in the person of Ajimani Derek. Today we are going to treat the topic 3 under sociology, that talks of society and cultures. So, societies and cultures, this topic tries to focus on societies, mainly how people live together and how and the way people live, how they live together, the way people live, the way people behave, and the way people believe. So, understanding societies and cultures helps us to see or know why different groups of people behave the way they do and how traditions, norms, and other things shape their lives. So this aspect is more focused on societies, and the other aspect is what culture. So we move on to society. We move on to the introduction. It says that humans are social beings. That is, we exist socially, meaning we interact with each other, and we can never do anything without interaction with each other. That is why it is very important to note that as a human being, you live by interaction, you live by socialization, you live by understanding and then the way to interact with people. So almost whatever is done is social because we learn from others, we do things with others, and then all whatever thing that we keep on doing is directed towards what others. So when we talk about the definition of society, according to Robertson, he said that society is a population that occupy the same territory, is subject to the same political authority, and also participate in a common what culture. So this is actually the meaning of society that will actually help you to understand the concept of society as well. This according to Robertson Land. So with the continuation of it, you can see that the definition of society comes along with what a society should entail, because embedded in the definition we get to know that a society must have a members that occupies a territory, they should occupy a place. At the same time, they share the same government or political authority. So these are the things that entails for us to namely call something a society. And also to some extent, it have a way or a common way of life and sense of membership and commitment. So that's what. So with this society and cultures, we are trying to understand or um know why people behave the way they do, or why groups behave due to some certain kind of cultures and some aspect as well. Hope you are getting it. Great. So with the definition of society, you get to know that society is a fundamental feature of interaction. People interact with each other in a society. So for the fundamental for us to interact with people, we have to be in a society. That is why individuals within the society must act and react to the actions of one another. So our um, the fundamental to society is the feature of interaction. If you get to see the way people interact, it happens in society. You interact with the members of your faculty, the members or the people at your room, the people you meet every day. It all happened because you find yourself in a society. Because here's the case: if you hadn't find yourself in a society as KNUST, a prestigious university, as I said, you will never be able to interact. So the society you find yourself into, and one of the feature comes along with interaction. So a question is it relevant to live in society? That's a question to you. Is it relevant to live in society? I will probably say yes. Why? Because we are social beings. Humans are social beings. And why are we social beings? We are social beings because we exist, and we exist by interaction. Hope you are getting it. So, as to how relevant it is for us to live in a society, you get to know that we are all human beings and we are all social beings. Why? Because we exist and interact with each other. So, with the continuation of it, we move to the types of society. We call this the hunting and the gathering societies. The hunting and gathering societies, that's the earlier society. So with this society, It talks of the kind of society started from human existence, whereby it relies for its subsistence on wild animals and vegetation as its members can hunt and gather. Hunt and gather. That's how you call it, hunt and gather. So that's the hunting and the gathering society. So it's like with this society, small groups survive by hunting animals and gathering wild plants. That's it. That was the earliest society. Hope you're getting it. So it consists of small scattered groups which are based on kinship. The family is the distinct institution. So members in these societies do similar things and have common life as well as beliefs and values. Hope you're getting it. So with this society, everyone does similar work and there's no social class. There's equality. Hope you're getting it. Because if you move on to the one, he said that they do not place much premium on possession and are constantly moving with the expectation of the available resources at their location. So with this society, they are not much more interested in getting to possess something, but they consume everything at their disposal at a particular point in time. So their needs, social strata, and culture are simple, and it takes into account unseen spirits, but does not worship them. Yes, so this type of society is not very common, but around of the central Australian desert, a keen bushman of the Kalahari Desert in South Africa, and then we have the Mumbinti hunters and also of the Ituri rainforest of Congo in Central Africa. So with this society, they hunt and gather. And as they gather, it's like they hunt wild animals and gather wild plants. So they don't force themselves to do um something like they have something in their possession. So, for example, imagine a small group of people living in a forest. They hunt animals, they gather food, and they move when resources run out. So here's the case that you have people that are living in a place whereby, and in the earliest, this society is the earliest society that came, whereby here's the case. We go for hunting, we bring some of the resources, and when those resources run out, we now go back to hunting again. This is the society that we are talking about. We move on to the next society, and the next society is, so the next one is what we term as the pastoral societies. The pastoral society. So with the pastoral society, we call it the animal herders. The animal herders. So this society rely for their subsistence on domesticated herd animals. So they relied on domesticated animals like cows, sheep, for food, milk, and trade. These were the pastoral societies. So the first pastoral society emerged between 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. So this society can grow because there's an assurance of steady food supply, unlike hunting and gathering. So with this, wealth can be accumulated through the surplus of livestock, and that's the acquisition of what? Power. So it was through these pastoral societies that we get to see that people were healthy, and there was a possession of health because they were having some kind of what head animal they can use to do whatever thing they would want to do. And with the continuation of that, you can get to know that however material possessions are not very many but more than the hunting and gathering societies. So with the hunting and gathering societies, you can get to know that with the hunting and gathering society, they hunt, and then after resources run out, they go back. But with the pastoral society, they have the assurance that there's a steady food or there's a supply of food in as much that anytime that they want it, they will be able to get it. So with the pastoral societies, they exist inter-group fighting over pastures and slavery through conquest. You get it? Yes. So that is all about it. So for example, I can give an example about society. With the pastoral societies also, they worship of gods who are interested in humans affairs, also prevalent in pastoral societies. So the social structure and culture are more complex since population becomes larger and more complex. You get it? So with the pastoral societies, for example, imagine a group of people who raise cows for milk and meat. They move their animals to find fresh grassland and trade their products with other villages. That's all about the pastoral societies. So with this is the people settle in one place because they may move or they move with their animals. And there's some kind of social inequality because There are some people that have more animals. Those people that have more animals have more power. So in case you're not having more animals, then irrespectively, then you're also having one. You're also not having more power as well. So that's all about the pastoral societies. Examples of the Nandi and the Maasai in Kenya and the Fulani in northern Nigeria. So that's all about it. Then we move on to horticultural societies. So with the horticultural societies, these societies relies for the subsistence on whole cultivation of domesticated plants. So it's like these horticultural societies are called the early farmers. The early farmers, because they first appeared between 10,000 and 12,000 years ago, when some hunting and gathering societies began to deliberately sow, tend, and harvest edible vegetations. Rather, sorry. Okay, so as I said, that's for this kind of society. So they appeared within 10,000, then they mostly focus on aspects, as I said, they have to deliberately sow, tend, and harvest edible vegetation. Hope you are getting this for. So for the horticultural society, they are like the early farmers. They were the one who came because they grow crops using simple tools like hoes. We are going to get there soon. So like members live relatively settled life but more periodically. So this horticulture is an alternative to pastoralism, and the choice of one over the other is dependent on the environment. You get it? So yeah, it provides assured food supply, possibility of surplus, wealth creation, acquisition of power, resulting in the development of political institutions. Hope you are getting it. So we are having specialization. They have elaborate cultural artifacts and complex social structure. So I would like to explain everything here to make it simple for you. So all about these horticultural societies are societies that they were they were more into vegetation. They were growing crops, and they happened to use tools like hoes at that time. So it was more stable villages because people don't have to move often. Unlike the pastoral societies whereby you have to move your animals to place by place. But with this, they were more stable villages because of their way of growing plants and waiting for them to arrive, and then they exchange value with it. That's that kind of horticultural societies. So the societies whereby people used to grow vegetation, and then they stay at a particular place, and then they use resources like hoes and the rest to go about their things. So for example, imagine a village where people plant maize and trade extra food with others. Some people become porters or weavers, and leaders emerge. This is the society that we are talking about. Society where there is growing of plants, they trade with cocoa and everything. We call these societies as horticultural societies. Then we move on to agricultural society. So with the agricultural society, that is what I term as advanced farming. Advanced what farming. So there's a difference between the horticulture and agriculture. So with the horticulture, they tend to use what hoes and other mini small machines or small equipment to go about their way of things. That's planting. But with agriculture, is the more advanced way of what horticulture. So that's the subsistence of agricultural societies is dependent primarily on the planned cultivation of crops through irrigation, plugs, drafts, animals, and fertilizers. So with this, we are talking of advanced what farming or advanced farming, as I said. So all these advanced farmers, instead of reusing simple hoes and everything for the horticulture, right now we are using fertilizers. We are using draft animals. We are using some fertilizer that will help grow our crops. We call that one what agriculture or the advanced what farming. So with this, you can see that large cities and civilization develop out of these agricultural societies because there's a social class. We have those who grow rich landowners, and you have the poor farmers as well. So like a scenario, a wealthy farmer owns a large piece of land and hires workers to grow food. You get it? He sells the crops in markets, making a profit while workers earn small wages. You get it? There's some kind of class struggle here in this type of what society. That's when we move on to so with the agricultural society, you can see that as I explained earlier that there's invention of plow, whereby about 6,000 years ago, resulting in the agricultural revolution, accounting for large-scale production, growth of cities, specialization, emerging of social classes, whereby people have to own lands, employ people to work for them. They sell it and they are enjoying more wages. So there was a class struggle, and then it was more complex social structure and culture because as there's a growth of production and then there's a growth of cities and there's high specialization, the society becomes more complex to adjust to it. Hope you are good with it. Good. So with this, we move on to the industrial societies. The industrial societies, as I will simply term it, I call that one the factory-based society. The factory-based society or the factory-based economy. So it's like it was shifting, and there was a shift from farming to factories and machines. You see, right now you can see that we are in the technological age or in a technological world where we are seeing that there's a shift from the way we were doing things 6,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. Our way of farming, pastoral farming, horticulture, and even agriculture is now more of them is now being technologically advanced. So we are talking of the industrial societies. We are talking of societies whereby we move from the farming to the industries or to the factories and machines. So this society rely on the subsistence primarily on merchandise production. They came in the emergence of the industrial revolution. So during the industrial revolution, that's when this society started to emerge. So there was an agricultural development, a way of how to use fertilizers to make sure that our plants do grow. It was actually growing. So during this time, machines did the work by people and animals. So instead of agriculture, instead of machines doing some of the work for us, at this time, they were rather doing the work for the people. So instead of us to be doing the work for our own self during past and part of the society, right now they are doing the work for our own or our own self, or they are replacing workers. If you're getting it. So for example, if I might to say, it's example like a young man moved from a small village to a big city to work in a factory. Over time, he saves money and starts a small business. So with this industrial society, see, he has moved from the old way of farming to come to a city to find what a job or to find something to do and then save money. So that's the industrial revolution. And this industrial revolution had an industrial society and was able to influence the way people do things and how they go about things. What we are getting. So with this, there was also a development in large population urbanization. As I said, people were moving from their rural areas coming to the urban areas. Hope you are getting it. Wonderful. So this distinct institution, and that's an intensification of the complex social structure. So this industrial activity has rationality, respect for time, and elaborate division of labor, precision in production, and quality control. So these societies or these industrial societies are more what rational. They respect time. And for example, if you go to a white man's land, they respect time, the time you use to come to work, the time that we use to do your thing, they respect it. And there's a division of labor. In case this is how you are going to, or this is where you can work, they put you there, they give you what you expected to do, and you come out with the results as well. Hope you're getting it. Wonderful. So the religion shrinks in importance as time goes on. Religion shrinks it out. So then we move on to the post-industrial societies. The post-industrial societies. So with these societies, they rely for subsistence primarily on production of services and information. So with this society, I will say that we call it the modern knowledge-based society. With this society, we are more interested in the share of what knowledge, the share of information, and how to go about it. So it focuses on technology, services, and information instead of factories. So instead of the industrial society, which focus on factories and machines, this one it focuses on technology, services, and information. And then education and skills are more valuable to them than land or factories. That's for the post-industrial societies. So they are more characterized by large population and then heterogeneous culture. And I said education is very important to them as well. So for let me explain part of the industrial society. So for the post-industrial society, for example, let me give this scenario. A software developer in a big city designs apps and sells them online. His incomes come from knowledge, not physical labor. That's what it meant to have or to be in a post-industrial society, whereby we are focusing on technology, information, and also what services, what you have to offer. And these are the things you earn your income from. So, for example, as I said, that someone will create an app, will be doing things online, and then he'll be selling them and then making an income. It's he actually earning through the knowledge and the skill that he or she is having. That is when you find yourself in a post-industrial what societies. Then we move up to the next one, that is culture. 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 So with culture, we can say that culture is very important in sociological concept which needs to be understood since it helps in the sociological analysis of behavior of people. Because if you really want to understand why this person is actually doing what he or she is doing, you have to understand the culture that the person is from, or the culture that the person practices, or the culture the person has the understanding about. Please hope you are getting it. Wonderful. So with this, you can get that E.B. Taylor defines culture as as that complex whole which includes knowledge, beliefs, arts, morals, laws, custom, and other capabilities or habits acquired by man as a member of what the society. Hope you are getting it. Great. So that's how, because society, or sorry, culture itself consists of beliefs. It consists of what everyone believe, or what their conviction about something. It talks of customs, traditional things that they used to do. It talks of language, simple things that they used to do, the norms and the values. You get it? Great. That is all about. And then you move on to your culture, as I said. So as I said, the culture, as I said, you have culture ways. Culture is a way of life of the members of a society or groups within a society. So it includes how they dress, their married customs, their family life, their patterns of work, their religious ceremonies, and leisure. So that's according to Giddens. So culture is a social creation. Culture is a social creation. Kindly take note of it. So culture is a social creation because humans are therefore regarded as a culture creators, culture bearers, and culture transmitters. Because if without a society, how can you build a culture? And it's within, or it's through those individuals that create the culture. It's through those same individuals that come out to be culture bearers, and these same individuals are the one that transmit or socialize the culture to other people. So culture is therefore the entire way of life of people in the society, not just the way of life, but the entire way of life of people in a society. That is what it's meant to be. And then you can get to that there's a close connection between culture and society. Culture cannot exist without society, and a society cannot exist without culture. So there's then kind of a strong bond, because how can a culture exist if there's no society? And how can a society function well if there's no culture? So there's a close connection, and it's actually very close, almost to one. Hope you're getting it. So we have the symbiotic relationship. That's culture is learned, not inherited. Culture is learned, not inherited. In case you came out of your mother's womb and you'll be like, oh, you have to inherit how to eat, how to use fork. No, it is a culture. You have to learn how to use a fork or a spoon to eat. It is not just inherited. And the question is how. That is when we get to understand that it is learned through the process of socialization. How is culture being learned? Through socialization. When I talk about socialization, it's when people are being introduced to the culture. In case you are being born from your mother's womb, and then your mother don't take you through how the culture really works, you will not well be socialized to the system. You get it? So a culture is being able, or a culture will be able to, sorry, a culture will be able to or like will be able to acquire or being learned not by being inherited by through what socialization. And it's through socialization, as I said, the socialization comes when you are being introduced to the new system. As I said the last time when it came to the orientation, these are all socialization. We are trying to make sure that we induce you into what you are coming to. We let you understand the culture, the processes of how we go about things. You get it? And these things, they are not transmitted from one generation to another genetically. We don't transmit culture. I'm sorry, we don't transmit culture through like just by blood. That no, we learn it. Culture is shared. Culture is transmissible, is social, gratifying, adaptive, integrative, and dynamic. So that's all about what culture, and that's how you can understand these what concepts and what help to appreciate it as well. So we have the kinds of culture. We have the kinds of culture. We have the material culture, which refers to the physical or the technological aspect of our daily lives, what we see, that they are the tangible ones, the material thing that we see around. They are the tangible social creation which consists of artifacts and the physically objects human beings create and give meaning. Okay, so what all about these human sorry material culture, the things that the physical things that surrounds our daily life, especially clothing, schools, food items, houses, all these what surrounds our what our daily life, and we get to know how to go about what things as well. This is how, and this is what it is expected of us to know, that with the material culture it talks of the physical aspect. The physical aspect, it helps you to know that with the physical that is surrounded around us, we have the clothing, the school, the food items, and the houses as well. Hope you are getting it. Great. So with this we move on to the non-material culture. So this is the intangible aspect of life, that is the abstract human what creations. Please hope you are getting it. Great. So that's all about the non-material culture, the intangible aspect, the ideas aspects of life, and how we go about what things. So these are more resistant to change. Ideas, example like languages, ideas, beliefs, rules. To be honest, they are resistant to change. Anything can happen. The ideas of ghosts exist, ancestors, witchcraft, heaven and hell, and etc. They are what resistant to what change. Okay, getting it? Great. And then we move on to okay, so with the material culture cannot be understood without the ideas in mind. It is very true. Material culture cannot be understood without non-material culture. How can you understand the reason why you have to wear clothes if you don't understand the idea part of why we wear clothes? If you are getting it. So the non-material culture helps us to understand the material culture. The idea part of whatever thing that we are doing helps us to understand what the material part of whatever thing that we are going to wear. So there's a shared meaning of the material culture for a meaningful interactive process to be realized. Hope you are getting it. Wonderful. So for you to understand culture very well, you have to note that ideas has to be in mind, and these ideas helps you to understand why you do this. Why do you wear clothes? Why do you do this? These ideas helps you to appreciate the material culture. So the non-material culture helps you to appreciate what the material culture. And this is when we move on to the next stage. There's some element of culture, things that consist or things that are included in what in a culture. First is language. How can a culture exist without language? How can you well communicate without language? So this is where we understand that some of the most important element in it is what language, and language is the most important aspect that people use to communicate and share culture. How can you transmit or socialize a culture to someone if there's no language? If I getting it. So this is the abstract system of word meaning and symbols for all aspects of what culture. That's how you're going to do it, right? So then we move on to a little explanation about that. So for example, English and French and Spanish allow global communication. So But sign language helps deaf people interact as well. If you're getting it, so we have the languages, and with these languages, it includes speech, written characters, numerals, symbols, and non-verbal gestures and expression. So any way that you could ever communicate effectively, it comes through what language. So then we move on to the aspect of language. He said that the ability to speak another language is crucial to intercultural relationship. So if you want to actually speak to other people, you can't speak to a Spanish person while you're speaking English. You have to be in his culture. And that Spanish person cannot also communicate to you in the Spanish way. So there has to be the ability to speak other languages. That is why it is expected of us to make sure that other languages as French, that is well accepted worldwide, is well being what treated with urgency. So in as much that you are learning sociology, you have to take other courses as well, such as French. And take French well because it helps you to communicate to other cultures. Because someone in Cote d'Ivoire cannot be communicating French to you who doesn't understand French. But here's the case that you understand the French, you understand other languages, you can be able to what to communicate what effectively. And within language, language helps us to shape how humans see, taste, smell, feel, and hear. You get it? It also influences the way we think about people, ideas, and objects around us. If I don't communicate to you that this particular thing is rectangle, how are you going to believe it? It comes through language, it comes through communication, it comes through ideas. So how we perceive things, how we so the way we perceive about people, how we perceive ideas, even the object around us, it can be well communicated with language. You get it? Because if I don't communicate to you that take this rectangular thing for me, how are you going to do it? It all happens through language, understanding the language, knowing how to what to go about it as well. So, for example, you move on to the next one. That's language as well. It communicates culture, a culture norms, values, and sanctions to people. You can never communicate how you would effectively sanction people if you don't understand language, if you don't understand the system of language. For example, you cannot even vibe someone if you don't know the system of language, how things used to work to go about. So members of a society generally share a common language which facilitates day-to-day exchanges with what with others. Here's the case that you find yourself in a community whereby this person is speaking English, this person is speaking French, this person is speaking Spanish, this person is speaking this. It doesn't make that society a society because a society has to get a common language whereby every activity that will be taking place can be well taken. For example, like KNUST, our mother language is what English language. It doesn't mean that our mother language is not our local language, but what I mean is the general common language that we accept here is English. So with that language, it helps us to communicate with everyone, and then exchange values or exchanges happens through those what languages. So that is why it is important to understand the system of what language. And even within the same society, a term can have a number of different what meanings. It's true that in the same society, if someone says this, there's a way you are going to perceive it. There's a way someone is also going to perceive, or there are different meanings to one particular thing in the same society. So language is very, 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 very what important. So with this, we move on to norms. Norms. So with norms, they are established standards of behavior maintained by a society. A society cannot be well stable if there are no norms, or there are no something like sanctions, things or things that should be there to make the society stable. That is why norms are established behavior maintained by society. So the rules regulating behavior of people in a particular society is what we term as what norms. There are some rules because here in KUSC there are some rules that is actually what regulating for people. If we don't put out rules, how are you going to effectively be organized in your behavior? Hope you are getting it. Good. So the norms are rules for behavior, how you should behave in a particular situation, or how you should behave in a particular society. So that is They are the shared rules or guidelines that prescribe the behavior appropriate in a given situation. So norms is what is expected of you, the appropriate behavior as to what is expected of you as a student. We give you instruction, we give you norm that what is expected of you as a student of K University, most especially school of business. This is what is expected of you, and this is how you have to do your things. Even wearing blue every day is how they communicate to us that this is the appropriate way of what doing things in KSB, meaning school of business. So they describe how people ought to behave as members of a social collectivity, as people of KUST, as students of um, school of business. We find ourselves that without norms, we can never be able to know how we are ought to behave in this social collectivity. Without having the norm that this is our way of dressing, this is our way of doing things, you cannot be well behaved. You won't know how to behave in that social collectivity, or to be precise, a procedure university as K University. So okay, so however, you can get to know that norms are situation specific, meaning that there are some things that it is allowed in the privacy, but it's not allowed publicly. So, for example, the modesty forbidden nudity, but permitted in bedrooms as well as during medical examination. So, for example, there are some things you could do in your bedrooms during medical examination, but it's not permitted outside. You get it? Maybe you went to see a doctor, the doctor wants to just give you an injection. You get it? It is expected of you to make sure that wherever part that the doctor wants to take an injection to is being open, and then he takes it out. But you can't go outside and be like, I can't do it. You get it? So they are situation specific. There are times they are being allowed, and there are times it is not being allowed. So you can't tell the doctor that please, my this place is nakedness, so I can't take the injection, and then probably I think you will die. Yes. So that's why I say they are situation specific. At times it's accepted, or you have to compromise at a particular time, and at times you have to make sure that that's how you have to go about it. So some norms apply to all members of a society. For example, greeting in Ghana. Monogamy in the USA is applicable to all married couple. So there are some norms is everyone in society is applicable to everyone, irrespective of who you are. So however, some norms apply to some but not to others. Example, taking human life does not apply to policemen in shoutouts or in self-defense. Hope you're getting it. Yes. So there are some norms they can be accepted, and also they can be applied to some, and also they do not apply to others. Because for police and for policemen and military men, they can take the lives of people as a self-defense. But for you as an individual, you can never do that. You get it? So that's why I say they are situation specific. Depending on where you find yourself, there are some things you can do, but in case you move out from that context, there are some things you are not expected to do. Hope you are getting it. Great. So now norms are of extreme importance. It's very, very true. Wherever you find yourself into, whether it be in your hostel, your home, your classroom, your even the faculty, the department you find yourself to ensure that things run smoothly, there should be a system of norms, because in the absence of norms, there is chaos. Where if there's a case that people do whatever thing they would want to do anytime, chaos will have to what okay. But here's the case that there are some norms that is actually guiding the behaviors of people, guiding how individuals have to go about their things in society. It brings out what some kind of smooth functioning in that society. So there are different kinds of norms, and then as to explain it, I will actually do it in the next video. So kindly stay tuned and then follow up to the next video. And this is grade 8 tutor, and I'm the person of Ajimai Derek. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.